What's up, Internet? Troy to the Max Extreme here.
And Ghost Hunter Dave.
And together, we are IMPERIUS REX.
We are?
Yes!
Since when?
Eons ago, when
Not
we used
lately.
to produce content.
Oh my god.
Today,
Yes.
Dave, we are going over what we've been actually covering in our podcast.
What's our podcast?
Tell
me about this, Troy.
We do a podcast very infrequently called the Event Fatigue Podcast. We are going event by event.
I forgot all about it because we haven't done one in like 3 months.
Well, good thing you just said that, because not only are we crossing our streams here.
Oh my lord.
We're hitting
I should put down some papers.
Marvel's Civil War, which was one of their biggest events ever. And we figured it was good enough for video.
That's right.
And so if you like this, then there's more of it in our podcast feed, so you can find the description in the video or whatever this is.
We thought we'd try to pull those 3 podcast listeners onto our main channel.
Yeah, that's right.
Boost the numbers a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Troy. Yes, it's been a while.
Yes.
We were talking before the show, as sometimes we do. Other times we don't. You just walk in, we don't make eye contact. How I think this might be the first in-person filming we've done of 2020.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
I can.
Me
and
too.
It's been a long fucking time. Oh my god. This year has been awful. COVID aside.
Yeah.
Not great.
No. And that's a top 3 reason why it's been awful.
Yeah. I mean, my foot's barely hanging on there, for
God.
one.
Hanging on by a tendon. The only tendon that works.
Yeah.
Troy's had some foot trouble.
That's for another
It's a
time.
whole other...
But with that out of the way, why don't we jump right into Civil War?
Let's do it, Troy.
Dun, dun. Dun, dun. That's our theme song, man.
That's how it goes?
Nope. I haven't seen a show in forever. So, immediately following our Planet Hulk event that we talked about, comes Civil War.
On the podcast.
On the podcast, not obviously in the show. We haven't done shit for this.
So around this time, Marvel was on a hot streak, courtesy of one Brian Michael Bendis.
BMB.
That's right. He was their golden boy, kicking off events right and left, knocking it out of the park. Avengers, never been better.
Hot cakes.
X-Men, gone. Depowered. And Marvel was like, hey, Bendis, we love what you're doing. They did say this. I have the transcript. But we're going to let this other rising star take the reins here. And he goes by the name Mark Millar. I think that's how we pronounce it. Nobody checked it for sure.
Definitely never checked. There is a nice Twitter thread going out there how to pronounce comic book characters' names.
Don't want any part of it.
We don't want any of it.
I feel like it would taint the show. We'd lose our magic.
It's the only charm we have.
That's right. So they let Bendis kind of sit on the sidelines here, as he is essentially the architect of the Marvel Universe at this point.
Yeah.
And they're like, Mark, what you got for us? You're tearing it up in the Ultimates playground.
Sure.
With your Ultimates books.
Yes, specifically.
Why don't you show us what you got? And as it turns out, he gave us something that would have been very great in the Ultimates title.
But it did shake things up quite a bit in
Boy, howdy.
616. This title was the hottest shit ever once it dropped.
It was
It was
Taco Bell shit.
Oh my god. Taco Bell Chipotle shits.
Oh,
It
no.
was... Don't you say no to that, you son of a bitch. But this was a bit of a tone departure from Brian Michael Bendis stuff. It's not as wordy. It's a totally different kind of feel. And it took the world by storm. Like, there's a bunch of our followers on this. Friends of the show.
Who are we, Jesus?
There's a bunch of followers of the show. Friends, some people say. That said they got back into comics mainstream because of this book. And
I can see it.
I don't doubt it. I mean, it took the comic world by storm. If I could say it again. I just want to re-emphasize that.
Yeah, a cosmic storm. Very grounded, real world, political,
Yes.
politically influenced cosmic storm.
And I think that's why it got a hooks into a lot of people, because of it. It was rather politically charged, if I could say.
Yeah.
Than Brian Michael Bendis' stuff that he's put out previous.
Yeah. It was also a lot dumber.
Kind of. Like, I think it's a smart idea.
Yes.
The idea, I think, is very sound. But reading, if you are just to read the main title, no tie-ins, I was lost at some points, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure that every month this came out was a month in real time this issues came out. Because it seemed like there was quite a bit that happened between issue to issue to issue.
That's right. And this is also a good time to introduce a kind of tie-in, one of several tie-ins during this time. Marvel's Frontline, a Marvel Comics event, mind you.
Yes.
that dealt, I think this was weekly. I don't know if that completely evens out, but this is like 12 issues, so maybe bi-weekly. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
even know what bi-weekly means. To tell you the truth.
Nobody does. Bi-monthly, bi-weekly, it's too vague.
Is it twice a week, or is it multiple weeks? I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Is it like when you bisect something? Who knows?
I can't tell. Anyway.
I think this filled in a lot of that.
Yeah.
One plotline in particular was this whole Atlantean assassination plot, which gets like no page time in the actual book, yet there is a culmination towards the end that is like, where did this come out of?
Yes.
If you weren't keeping up with Frontline.
Yeah.
There was also a introduction of the character Penance.
Yes.
Who plays I guess, kind of a pivotal role.
Yeah.
Not really in the event, I guess, but going forward.
Yeah, going forward. Like, Speedball turns into Penance.
Wait a minute. What are we talking about?
And that was the only takeaway I remember taking away from the Frontline books. Like,
yeah.
I like them because they're, like, from my point of view, if I was, like, a person on the street, like, watching all these heroes clash with each other.
Don't sell yourself short, Troy. You are a person on the street.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, finally.
Yes. Well, not right now, because we're all in quarantine.
And on stools, obviously.
Right, obviously.
But that's the reason I liked it here off from the get-go. But going through it again, and you even brought it up like a week ago when I had a small little chat with you, that it's a little bit duller than you remember.
It's a bit dry. It gets really caught up in some of the fine details of the story, which aren't terribly interesting.
Yeah, but I wonder if they would have had to do that, because like Civil War, the proper is just like real big broad strokes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like as I read it, every time I got to a Frontline book, I was like, ugh. But I felt like I kind of needed it for the context of a lot of Civil War.
Yeah.
So, like, when I finally got to a Civil War issue, I was like, all right, Michael Bay action, you know? And then this was, like, kind of filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
And this is written by Paul Jenkins of Sentry fame.
Yeah.
Not as good, but it's all right.
Yeah. They aren't bad by any means. They're just, like, a little bit not as great as I remember, I guess. Yeah.
I could say that for the whole event.
Yeah, I think that's 100%, because, like, I thought the event covered a lot more, and it's actually all the tie-ins that I have at my house as well that, like, filled in way more detail. Like, in this, Spider-Man just shows up in his Iron Spider suit, and you're like, whoa, I thought, like, Tony Stark had a whole thing with him getting it. Nope, just shows up in it.
Yeah, that was in the Amazing Spider-Man tie-in.
Yeah.
Kind of prelude to this.
Yeah.
Where Tony gets him under his arm.
Yeah.
Just like he did in the movie.
Just hooks in him.
Get him in there. Make sure he's got his back. Gives him this nice gift. Here's this Iron Spidey suit for you.
Yeah.
Have fun.
It's pretty cool. It can glide.
I don't know why I only gave you 3 hooks when spiders
have 8 limbs.
Yeah.
That always bothered me.
So terrible. I hate it.
I like a good symmetry.
Yeah.
Unless it's like Hellboy, which asymmetric is very quaint.
Oh, man.
Anyway, we're getting off subject.
What were we talking about?
Civil War, I guess.
All right.
But the art is so top-notch. Steve McNiven is putting in his best work in this.
Yeah, so this was not the first time that him and Millar teamed up, because I believe this happened after the Old Man Logan, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it might be.
Okay. I don't have the dates in front of me.
Nor do I.
But I'll take your word for it.
Do you know when this was published?
2005.
2005. All right, well, Old Man Logan was either before or after that, so there we go.
Yeah, yep.
So, Troy, what kicks off this whole Civil War?
Well, the New Warriors, I don't know if it was a thing before this book, but they have a little bit of a reality show where the New Warriors go and bust thugs.
Taking it to the streets.
They take it to the streets.
Or are you on the streets at this time?
Still on the stool.
Okay. All right. That's good, because it's about to go down in the streets.
It very much is.
Hide your kids.
Hide your wife. Hide your husband. They raping everybody up in here. But the New Warriors come across almost like a halfway house for super criminals, and they think this is the show that's going to make them big. They got heavy hitters in there. The ones that took down...
They're going to blow up with this one.
they took down like some of the Avengers.
That's
and
right.
We're going to take them down right now. I actually kind of like the opening to this. I think it's a fun idea that it's a reality show with like C-list superheroes. Sorry, friend of the show, OJ, who loves the New Warriors for some reason.
Should we not drink that whiskey that he sent us? Should we have held off?
But what I'm trying to say is I think it's a great idea, and I also think it's a fun spur of the event as well.
And a pretty good encapsulation of the time.
Yes.
When reality TV was all the rage.
But when I say fun, I mean it's a big, heavy event that I don't think I've really seen in Marvel Comics as of yet. Like, real life stakes. Where they go against the super criminal Nitro and they just light it up. And, like...
Light it up.
Women, children, men are killed, and it's a big, huge deal. Like, it's a
national tragedy.
It is. It's like 9/11.
Well, this is 4 years after 9/11, so I would say that it's probably pretty heavily inspired by that.
Yeah. Because it is a reality show, I do like they're like, we need to re-get that line, the mics weren't quite ready yet, and so they'll just, like, kick the bad guy in the face again and, like, say another witty pun or whatever. It's like, oh, that one was great. Good. We got a good stuff, Speedball. We got great stuff here.
Yep.
That was some fun stuff in there until it gets very serious.
Yes. Almost immediately.
Yeah.
So, do you maybe share my sentiment when I say this feels like it should have been set in the Ultimates universe more so than the regular universe?
I mean, the Ultimates up until now has been more, I feel, grounded and is not, even though there's like superheroes and stuff, as a fantastic magical place. Like, it is more grounded, I think, in a reality than the 616 was.
Yeah.
So, kind of.
One thing that I think would have been better for this if it was in the Ultimates universe, because the characters in the Ultimates universe don't have the history that the 616 does.
Right.
So when characters that are acting out of character, as a lot of them do during this, it isn't quite so, like, stand out.
Yeah.
Because there are moments in this where, like, some of the greatest, most inspirational Marvel characters become almost like mustache-twirling evildoers.
Kind of.
Due to just, like, really off-the-mark characterization.
Yeah.
Where I think they could have added a little bit more nuance to some of the decisions in this. Overall, I think the storyline is great. Granted, I say that about Ultimatum. I think it's a great concept.
Yep.
That one is abysmal. This one is not on par with that at all.
No.
But I think it was just kind of, like, not handled as deftly as it could have been under a different writer.
Coming from that direction, yes, I do think it would have fit more in the Ultimate Universe. That being said, though, I do like they did do it in the normal 616.
True. Raise the stakes.
It did raise the stakes. It did something...
Nothing counts for shit in the Ultimate Universe.
It did something completely different that they haven't quite yet done, to my knowledge. And they had a huge plethora of characters to play with as well.
That's right.
The toy box was wide open.
Yeah. Counterpoint.
Okay.
It also kicked off the heroes fighting heroes fad that stuck around for a very long time after this.
Yeah.
And I think is kind of Millar's bread and butter. I don't think he knows there are any villains. He can't remember the names of any of these villains. So
But
it's just like, I guess Thor fights Iron Man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is, but it is heightened drama, though. Like, friend that used to be friend now are fighting against each other. It's a good tactic to sell.
Brother fighting brother.
That's right.
So what did you think of... You reread this, right? What did you think of Millar's writing on this? Because it's been a long time since I've read this. And when I I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Oh, okay.
When I read this issue to issue when it came out, I loved it. I ate it up. And I was a big fan of the Authority and all of his previous stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've read this since it came out in issues. So I'm kind of looking at it with new eyes, but I've maybe gotten a little cynical in my age.
I think, well, I'm right there with you. Like, I picked it up in trade when it was ready, and I've done the whole Marvel event fatigue thing we're doing already probably twice through, up to a point. So I've read this a few times.
Did you record it?
Unfortunately, I didn't, so we're still on the hook for that. But on this reread, though, I did find it a bit lacking, I guess. Like, it's what you said before. Some of the characterizations of the characters, I feel, aren't genuine. I felt like...
It's very cut and dry. Like, here's the good and here's the bad.
Yeah,
without any, like, real detail into, well, why. I also, like, maybe I'm a little older and wiser now. I'm not wiser, but I'm wise enough to know that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was in my youth.
Yes.
It's become very apparent that when Mark Millar writes smart people, he writes it as if a dumb person was trying to write a smart person. Where they just throw out, like, the weirdest, like, overcomplicated dialogue in an attempt to sound more, like, verbose and more intelligent.
And they
it's
also
like,
makes them
no
sound
one would ever talk like this.
And the way they do it makes them sound like a bunch of fucking cocks. You know what I mean? It's like, Reed Richards is the biggest prick in the world in this book.
He is just tarnished beyond repair in
like,
this.
Sometimes...
He is the true villain of the Civil War.
Sometimes I think, like, we were talking about the Fantastic Four on previous episodes. And, like, the Fantastic Four in the 60s, we think it's a quaint idea to have them be a little bit chauvinistic.
Yeah.
Because it was of the time. But they're in the current time, and he is a prick!
He is just
beyond
the worst.
belief. Fact or fiction.
Yes.
He is a dick in this.
He is one step away from, like, chemically castrating the superheroes that they jail.
Yes.
And putting them into camps, which they actually do in this.
Yes.
They ship them off to the negative zone.
Yeah.
Negative zone?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. In prison 42 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yep.
That number coming back again.
Yeah.
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 For whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
They had to undercut DC by 10 paces.
Yes. So, yeah, there's certain parts of this book, obviously, that didn't age great. Yeah. There's others that feel more timely than ever. I felt like reading them.
Yeah.
One of which that really stuck out to me is when one of the mothers of a dead child from the Stamford, Connecticut explosion confronts Tony Stark. She spits in his face. Yeah. And we're right now living in an era where we're like, oh my God, that is a death wish. Tony Stark is done for. Yeah. He wasn't wearing a mask or anything.
No.
That just struck me as like the most heinous thing you can do to somebody right now.
Yeah.
The other one that really stood out is Bill Foster, who is under the Goliath mantle. Yeah. The giant man at that time is killed by Clone Thor. We'll get into that later. Yeah. And there's an exchange between Iron Man and Spidey where Iron Man says, Thor reacted like any police officer would have. And that just hit a whole new level.
When I read
when you know that
again,
he's a black man. And he's just like any police officer.
It's getting hot in here.
And in the actual thing, they say something like, hands in the air. And Goliath is like, are you serious? And then hot button. Yeah. And then during the Frontline story, Captain America's given an interview to a reporter, a young up-and-coming reporter, and he says something like, we're becoming swaths of red and blue on an election night map. Welcome to the divided states of America. Yeah. And that, too. I mean, it's on the nose, but it's so on the nose that you almost have to bring it up. Yeah. Who could have foreseen? Mark Millar, that too.
Genius,
some
people say.
Yeah. Crazy Scotsman.
But yeah, the Goliath one for sure, I was like, holy shit, that's the most topical thing I've ever seen. Ever in a reread. Just oddly enough, we're going through this again, and this right now, right here, had to be brought up again.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, yikes.
So, this series, I feel like hinges on just a ton of shock moments.
Yes.
The storyline is great, but you look through it and it is just like, boom, high water mark, high water mark, high water mark in like the events of Marvel.
Yeah.
Here's a couple of them here. Obviously, the kid's death in Stanford.
Yes.
Captain America and Iron Man cutting ties.
Yep.
Going on opposite sides. Spider-Man unmasking in front of a live studio audience.
Yes, yeah.
Giving up his identity. The Fantastic Four splitting up. They all kind of go their separate ways. Reed becomes a dick.
Yes. Sue leaves him.
Ben refuses to partake, and Johnny Storm is like beaten into a coma.
Yeah.
The Thunderbolts and other horrible villains begin working for Tony Stark, putting him even further down the spiral of villainy.
Yeah.
Thor returns, only to be...
Asterisk.
Yes. Revealed as a cloned Thor, making Reed Richards even more diabolical.
Yeah.
And Tony Stark for going along with it.
Yep.
Goliath dies. I think he's the main casualty of this. The Negative Zone prison, of course.
Also, it's also horrible that when Goliath died in giant form, he didn't shrink down because they have to like bury him with aircraft. They
have to dig a trough that's like 30 stories.
It's horrifying.
Reed cloned a guy, but he couldn't shrink down this dead man, give him a proper burial.
Where's Ant-Man to just like shoot him with a shrinking ray or something?
Lord.
Come on.
Yes. And then Atlantis attacks following an assassination attempt of one of their ambassadors, which happens in the front line, which is kind of this weird, convoluted story. But it does give us one of the, if not greatest, panels of Namor as him and his army spring into action, bellowing out Imperius Rex. I mean, come on.
The merch is on Redbubble.
You couldn't pay for that publicity. Also followed up in Frontline, we find out that Norman Osborn, the assassin of the ambassador, is working for Tony Stark. He's behind this whole thing, and he used that whole assassination attempt just to sway people to his side, just making him the worst in this.
But I kind of like that, because like coming soon, Norman Osborn is a big, heavy player in the Marvel Universe. So I like he kind of like has a little bit of a seed here.
Why would he pick Norman Osborn?
I don't know, but...
Peter, I'm gonna need you to... I want you to have my back. I got you, buddy. Osborn, quit eyeing
You're the
Peter.
Green Goblin, right?
Yes. Come here. Other arm.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
We're all
three.
buds.
Yep.
High five.
Yep.
Hands in.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And then I also have Speedball becoming penance.
Yeah.
To atone for his sins.
Yeah. Very dark turn for a character.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a huge fan of Speedball as it is.
No one is.
And so, but you know what? At the time, I thought it was a cool idea.
I still kind of like the idea of penance.
Yeah.
The reverse Iron Maiden suit that he encases himself in.
Where he has to harm himself for his powers to work.
Yeah. Weird.
I do like it as like a weird S&M type thing, but I don't
Check
know.
out our Imperius Rex episode.
Yeah, for sure.
That gets your blood flowing.
But it is kind of like, looking back on it, like of the time, a bit dark and moody and all that kind of stuff. Where
do you know who writes this book, Troy?
Good thinking,
Thanks.
Dave. But yeah.
Thanks. So not only that, all that stuff happened in this book in merely 7 issues, which seems short for an event.
I thought it was very well planned out, actually.
It's a nice, concise, huge thing. Yes. They don't waste a whole lot of time.
No.
They don't muddy it up with big words or logic. And then the long term,
except for the leaps in it.
Right. And the ridiculous thesaurus level words that Mark Millar was like, what's a smarter word for big? Monolithic. So a lot happens in this.
Yeah.
And as Marvel events went on, a lot got undone from these big shakeups.
Most
this
do,
one,
though.
I feel like, had a lot of sticking power.
For a while.
This...
All right.
It's a fluid medium.
Push
it's a
forward.
Fluid medium.
Push forward. Go on.
Can I finish? I'm at the bottom of my index card. Some of the long-term effects of this shakeup. Tony Stark becomes head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
As he is on the winning side of the battle, the skirmish.
Yeah.
And he forms the Mighty Avengers with a group of his cronies.
Yep.
The New Avengers, which was a book that Bendis was writing at that time, goes underground, and those follow the exploits of the heroes that are against the registration. After all this, they're still waving a flag for Cap and saying, no, we're not doing that.
I actually think that might be the strongest point of this book going forward. Yeah. The two Avengers books splitting off. I thought that was a great idea, and I never thought they were really ever faltered. I love the New Avengers street level underground stuff, and the Mighty Avengers, like, government-oriented, like, big, huge action set pieces. Because
Bendis had been writing just... Mighty Avengers sprung out of this, so it was just New Avengers. Yes. There was no Avengers title at this point.
Nope.
Along with that, Tony Stark issues the 50-state initiative and places some super teams in every state. Yeah. God, I wonder what Iowa got. Probably some sort of hog man.
The corn husker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any. The
Texas
Hawkeye.
had an armadillo.
Just Hawkeye.
Hawkeye. Oh, yeah. Did you read any of that? Like, I have never kept up on any of those other super teams, and they're long gone now. I don't know if there was any payoff to that.
I have no... I know, I never did. But
I can only hope they were all just killed brutally in some sort of big mass event.
I'm not quite sure if maybe it's nostalgia for it, but there's a lot of people that said The Initiative was a great title. Like, jumping from state to state, looking at all these other super teams.
Is that what it was? Was it like issue by issue or arc by arc?
I don't know. I'm not for sure.
Write in. Let us know.
Should we
have checked this out?
Yeah, because I would, if it is great, like other people say, I will get it and read it, because I'm interested in it now that I've just read this.
Yeah. Another big, maybe the biggest repercussion of this, spoiler, the death of Captain America.
Yes.
Which happens in the main Captain America title, written by Brubaker and illustrated by Steve Epting at that time. And that is issue 25, I think, which happened right after Civil War. That was kind of like the epilogue to Civil War.
Yep.
And because I'm a glutton for punishment, I read the entire Captain America series leading up to that. And it was phenomenal. Yeah. And it is like just kind of the perfect way to wrap this whole thing up. And after Steve's death, there is a one-issue tie-in called The Confession, where Tony Stark is basically just pouring his heart out saying it wasn't worth it. As he's crying over Captain America's dead body. Right. Which really, like, hit home a bit there. Yeah. There's a lot of tie-ins right around the death of Captain America. There was Fallen Sun that Jeff Loeb did with a variety of illustrators. Yeah. And those were pretty good. It was all kind of various heroes dealing with the shakeup of Captain America dying. Yeah. Worth it for the art alone, I would say.
Around this time and the death of Captain America, I mean, that made
it made the
front page of the newspaper, right? Captain America's dead, whatever. And he was for a bit. Like, I don't know now. I don't know how long it actually was. I know he eventually comes back, like everybody does. Right. But like, it was a big deal. Like the symbol of America is dead. Yeah. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Again, very timely.
Yeah. But I thought, as dark as the book was, that it was a good idea. And for it to stick as long as it did, pretty powerful.
And for the handoff and legacy hero of Bucky picking it up. Yes. And he doesn't do it right away. Like, I continued reading it for a couple more trades, and it takes like a full trade for him to take up the mantle. Yep. And it's great. And he's not good at it right away. He's still like Winter Soldier. Yeah. But he's doing his own thing.
Yeah. His own thing.
Just as David Pumpkins would. But that was I would say probably the biggest ramification of the entire Civil War, and it was very well played and interesting that it didn't happen in Civil War.
Yeah, but I'm glad it did happen in its own title, though.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how pissed Brubaker would have been
Yeah,
if
no
Millar
shit.
got to kill him off?
Yeah, he's gonna die in my book.
Excuse me?
Yeah, no shit.
So, what did you think? We're jumping back to the main title of Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the full payoff there? So, they're fighting in the end zone.
Yeah.
They, I believe, get transported to New York, where the final battle takes place.
Yeah.
It's just chaos.
Yeah.
Citizens are running, fleeing for their lives.
Yeah.
Hero against hero.
Yeah.
And Captain America, while just beating the piss out of Iron Man, kind of comes to his senses, and he's like, oh, we've gone so wrong.
Yeah.
You know? What do you think of that? After all this, this is your moment of clarity?
Yeah, like, obviously the book is gonna kind of end up with somebody's, like, seeing, like, what the fuck are we doing here, right?
Yeah.
But it did just, like, abruptly happen. And for a person, I think, as smart as Captain America, it's like, you didn't see this coming?
Right.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, say this did go
Thought you
month
were
to
a
month.
tactician. Try looking 2 steps ahead of yourself.
Say this book did go up, like, month to month, and that's real time in the book. This went on for half a year. You didn't fucking see this coming?
Yeah.
You fucking dumbass? But
Captain America.
what are you gonna do? So, like...
And he surrenders.
He does. He
That's
surrenders.
how it ends.
I do think it's, like, as... For that character, I think it's a great thing for him to do. Like...
Captain America. The Robert E. Lee of Marvel Comics.
I think for that character, I think it's a smart ending. Like, what are we doing here? I think the timing was a little off.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't have done this, like, 5 months sooner. But, I was also going to ask you, like, what side did you feel like was most logical in this?
Oh, it's totally Tony Stark's side is more logical.
Yes.
And I believe the movie painted this in 100% better light than the comic did.
Yeah.
The movie gave, like, some insight on why they should do this, where the comic concentrated so much on, like, the polar opposites of the two.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Tony's side didn't care if heroes were killed, they were just, like, throwing them into internment camps and all this shit.
Yeah.
Where... I don't know.
Now that you said that, you want to change your mind?
No,
I think the ideological
Tony's makes
aspect of
sense.
it. Yeah. It's like, yeah, we are fucking powerful people. Maybe we should be held accountable of our actions.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, maybe we should register. But at the same time, the only thing that I think makes sense for the other side is, like, Spider-Man's story. Where it's like, if I come out, people are going to kill my family.
Yes.
So, like, am I going to hang it up? Maybe I should, but then I won't sell titles.
But at the same time, this whole thing, one of the people on our YouTube channel answered this. The whole thing feels like it could have been avoided if they just sat down and talked for like an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is something that could be easily fixed. You know, it's like, well, how about you don't unmask in front of everybody?
Right.
No one needs to know. The public doesn't need to know who you are.
Right.
Like, it's purely, like, in governmental databases.
Yeah.
And obviously things can be breached, but everything can be breached. Like, let's at least try to put the best foot forward
I mean,
here.
your shield, for Christ's
Yes.
sake.
Like, you just be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that Cap is so immediately against it, it turns, like, traitor or renegade right off the bat. Felt almost out of character for him. It's like, pull your jets, Cap.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the things I thought, like, you really jumped the gun on really hating this idea very quickly.
He's a passionate man. So any other standouts on this for you?
I mean, not going through this again, not really. Like,
no. I thought it was odd that, and this was short-lived, but after Captain America is incarcerated and then killed, Frank Castle, the Punisher, takes over as Captain America for, like, I don't know, a run, a brief run.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, I get that. He's like the anti-Captain America in terms of, like, his morals and everything, but it was kind of cool that, like, or the Punisher respects him.
Yeah, I do like in the book, though, Captain America kicks his ass.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, yeah, I killed these murderers, and he just fucking whoops his ass. Like,
Yeah.
we don't do that, so get this scum out of here.
Seat's taken.
Yeah, and then for him to, like, get his shit rocked by Captain America, he's like, I'm also gonna wear a suit.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, dude. So, I read a few other tie-ins to this, too. The Spider-Man one pretty much is just kind of like him being coerced to Tony Stark's side, getting the Iron Spider suit.
I feel like I think it's not a bad idea to read that, though. Kind of like the Amazing Spider-Man Civil War Prelude, or whatever it's labeled as. Yeah. That one's pretty cool.
That one, I feel like, and it's almost necessary to see, like, why his headspace is where he's at in the main title.
Yeah, and the Registration Act isn't just out of the blue, because Tony has been fighting it in that title prior to that. He knows that the government is going to enforce this, and he's doing everything he can to, combat it. Yes. And then when this blow up finally does happen, he's like, okay, well, I tried, but there's no other option at this point. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I also read the Captain America one, more or less skimmed it, and it does, like, shed a little bit more light on, like, the oppression towards, like, him just wanting to be, like, a free agent. Yeah. Pretty much. That it's just more context for, like, how he's feeling in the book. But, like, otherwise it doesn't do a whole lot else. Yeah, the New Avengers run at this time, every issue was just, like, focused on one of the New Avengers and how this all played out through their eyes. Like, Sentry, for instance, is a huge heavy hitter, and he took, like, some serious coercing to end up going to Tony Stark's side. So once they got him, it's like, it's over. We've basically got a powerhouse here, and there's Superman no Thor. I mean, we've made one, but he's a bit clunky. Yeah, Hercules takes his shit out. Yep. I read Thunderbolts right after this, the Warren Ellis run on it with Mike Deodato. And that was okay. Yeah. It was like right after Civil War. So it's kind of like one of the, I guess, part of the initiative maybe that is being sent out. Yeah. And that thing is off the walls. Is it? Have you ever read that? I've never have. It's nuts. It is just the gradual decline of Norman Osborn, basically. Like, just pushed to the limits, and he's so stressed out. And by the end, he goes full goblin, and he's just, like, flying around Thunderbolt's base, just pumpkin bombing the shit out of everything. That almost makes me want to pick it up then. It's something that I feel like he was really into, and then by the end, he's like, fuck it, I'm just... It's just right Norman Osborn screaming like yabba dabba doo as he goes along. But I mean, like, the art's fantastic, and it's kind of fun. Okay. Penance, Venom, all those guys are in it. Cool. So is that it? Troy? I think that's gonna be it, Dave. I feel like it's a pretty solid episode. It was a nice return to form. For sure. If you liked the taste of this Marvel event fatigue, we have a slew of backups on our podcast format. That's right. We put them on YouTube too. So yeah, I mean, chances are you've seen them. They're on this is kind of what we talk about. They're on this channel. They're also in a downloadable format, audio only. So you don't have to look at us. Yeah, for sure. But if you do like looking at us, you can get some of this nice IMPERIUS REX merch as well. Yes. On our whatever site it's on. It's down below somewhere. Redbubble, I think. Yeah. Check it out. And we're going to continue doing event fatigue stuff on our podcast format as well. I think the next one might be Annihilation. I think it is. Because it's happening at the exact same time as what's going on Earth right now in Civil War. Oh my god. There's something going on in space. You gotta check that out. Never read it. Really? Yeah. I think you're going to have a good time. I don't know. All this new Chris Pratt news left a bad taste in my mouth. You might have to disregard that. But I really like Annihilation. I might even say I might like it more than Civil War. Fuck you. Okay. Strong stance. I appreciate it, though. But that's going to do it for us right now. Until next time, I've been Short of the Max Extreme. And I have been Ghost Hunter Dave. And we have been IMPERIUS REX. It's nice to see you again. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye. Stay safe out there. Did you fart? No, it's just how it smells now. Oh no. Okay.